Without a doubt, Jimmy Butler has to be the focal point and the leader of this Miami Heat squad in order for this Heat team to compete with the top of the Eastern Conference as well as the rest of the league overall. So on this episode of Heat Digest, we're going to break down what we should really expect from Jimmy Butler going into the 24-25 NBA season. So let's get right to it and break it all down. As we know, Jimmy Butler's season came to a crashing halt as he suffered a right MCL sprain at the end of the first quarter in the first round of the play-in tournament against the Philadelphia 76ers. We all know this because he went on to play the next three quarters on that sprained right MCL. We did fall short, lose the Philadelphia 76ers. We went on to win the second round of the play-in tournament without Jimmy Butler, and we went on to lose in 5 games to the Boston Celtics in 5 games, again, all without Jimmy Butler. So, as he was sidelined and the Miami Heat were struggling to win without him, the season came to an end, and without a day going by, Jimmy Butler came out and made his contract demands to the Miami Heat and really the entirety of the world following the NBA. So everyone knows he wants that contract extension. He wanted the money so he can get to the age of 38 in a Miami Heat jersey without having to worry about re-signing, dealing with more contract extensions later down the line when he gets older in his career, as he's quickly approaching the age of 36. And we all know once players get above that age of 35, they become teams and organizations become very, very hesitant to go out and give them more money. So we're going to cite this article published 6 days ago titled "Jimmy Butler Told What He Must Do to Get a Huge Miami Heat Contract." So we'll get right to it and break down the first quote. Butler has been told what he must do to get one more huge contract in Miami. Frank Urbina wrote on Hoops Hype, quoting from Butler, for Butler in 24-25 will be about proving he can stay healthy and not miss so much regular season time, especially if this soon-to-be 35-year-old is expecting to get one more huge contract in Miami. Now, we know the biggest problem with Jimmy Butler has been his inability to play. And obviously, a lot of this is recency bias in the sense that we know last season he wasn't fully healthy for the majority of the year. If we look at his stats from this past year, he played in 60 of the games last season. He did miss 22 of them, including those 6 playoff games, the second round of the play-in tournament, as well as all 5 games against the Boston Celtics. And that's really where we needed Jimmy Butler absolutely most. As we know, this Miami Heat team was not great on the offensive end throughout the entirety of the season. We had periods where we looked very good, but again, we had more periods where we just looked horrible. We went stagnant, we were flat, we had no really strong hand to go to when we needed a basket late or even throughout the entirety of the game. It seemed like we were never able to go on runs offensively of our own. And then obviously defense gets harder when you can never actually put up some points on your own end. And again, he did play a lot last season, but again, it wasn't as much as we're really looking for. We need him to play about 65 to 70 games a year, but really we need you to be healthy during the playoffs. As we know, Jimmy Butler has been known to sleepwalk. That is a quote from this article going on to say has often said to, quote, sleepwalk through the regular season. That leaves the Heat with a lot more work to do in the playoffs, as we are normally a 5, 6, 7, 8 seed in those playoffs, or battling in the play-in tournament, at least we have in the last 2 years. So again, if Jimmy Butler is going to coast through the regular season, he's going to put up numbers that we're accustomed to seeing from Jimmy Butler that are very, very good. 20-point per game score, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal per game, and shooting right around the 50% mark from the field and right around 33% from the three-point line. Again, not the greatest three-point shot numbers, but again, they're not dominantly coming from outside the three-point line. He does a lot of his work inside the three-point line and at the free throw line dominantly, as he shoots 6 to 8 of them a game as he gets to the line at will, really whenever he's on the floor healthy. It's something that he's been able to do really the entirety of his career. And again, he's had a very, very long career. He's now entering the age of 35. I said 36 earlier. I apologize. He's going on the age of 35. And again, he's been in the league since he was 22. He was drafted by Chicago, and he's been a very, very good player, whether he's in Chicago, whether he's in Philly, Minnesota, Miami. He's been a very, very, very good player, and we all know this, and we know Jimmy Butler, and we love the Jimmy Butler that we get, especially in the playoffs where we see the points ramp up and really all of the energy and the effort goes through the roof with Jimmy Butler and the rest of this Miami Heat squad. But again, it's not just the articles where they're talking about he needs to be able to play more. It's coming from Pat Riley. Now, before we get into the quote, I have to say, when this quote initially came out, it was the quote directly before Pat Riley saying or telling Jimmy Butler he should probably keep his mouth shut if he's not on the floor. So this quote got vastly overlooked due to the fact that Pat Riley broke the internet, and everyone was like he disrespected Jimmy Butler, and obviously all the headlines that we got from Pat Riley's comment referring to Butler keeping his mouth shut. This quote was even more important in my opinion, and especially in this case, as he goes on to say this. And again, this is Pat Riley answering a question of being asked, is there any pressure to get Jimmy Butler the contract extension that he's looking for when the July 7th window does open up? Again, this is immediately following the season from Pat Riley's postseason press conference that we broke down just over a month and a half ago. He went on to say this, and I quote, "You know, we don't have to do that for a year or so. We have not discussed that internally right now, but we have to look at making that kind of commitment. That's something that we have to give some real thought based on a lot of factors. I don't want to go through the litany of factors right now because they'll all blow up into different hypotheticals. But yeah, that's a big decision on our part to commit those kinds of resources unless you have somebody who's really going to be there and available every single night. That's the truth." And that's the end of the quote from Pat Riley. And once again, it's just reiterating in a much clearer and obvious sense because it's coming from Pat Riley, the president of the Miami Heat, the guy that looks over the entirety of the organization. It feels like, at least on the face value of things, when you deal with the Miami Heat and ownership conversations, Pat Riley's name is usually the one floating around the top of that conversation for obvious reasons. He's been in the game of basketball for a long time. He's not only been a coach, he's been an owner. He's done it all. He's been through all of it. And again, he's very successful at what he does. There's no doubt about it. Whether you like him or you hate him, he's damn good at what he does. And obviously, he's very blunt and he's very honest. But again, there's a reason he's in the position he's in now as the one of the owners of the Miami Heat organization, and that's because he is who he is and he handles business the way he handles it. And again, there's nothing wrong with the way he uses his words. There's not with the comment earlier that we were discussing that we're not going to really highlight in this video, but again, when he told Jimmy Butler to keep his mouth shut if he's not on the floor, like, yes, it was very harsh in a way, but again, he was very blunt. He was very honest, and he was very straight to the point, and there's nothing wrong with that. Jimmy Butler made a quote based off of hypotheticals. If I was on the floor, if I was healthy, if Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Jaime Jaquez Jr., if Terry Rozier, Josh Richardson, if Jimmy Butler, if all those guys never missed time this past season throughout the regular season and stayed healthy the entirety of the year, we would have won the NBA championship. But again, we don't live in a world of hypotheticals. That is why Pat Riley was so harsh and so blunt about it. But again, the real reason, the real quote we are highlighting in this video was that one. And again, it couldn't be more accurate. Jimmy Butler, prove to me that you're not going to miss games. Prove to me you're going to be on the floor. And you don't have to give me 30, 10, and 8 a night. You don't have to be a walking triple-double, the only source of offense, the only guy who can handle the ball. That's not the case on this Miami Heat squad. We have so much other talent if we're all healthy. And Jimmy Butler, you are at the helm, leading the way for younger guys like Bam Adebayo, who doesn't seem like he's so much younger than Butler because he's so good and so mature at this point in his career. Rozier, Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez Jr., who's entering his second year in the league, who has so much upside. And then obviously the rookies that we're bringing in this year on two-way contracts or even on the roster right now, and Khalil Ware and Pelle Larson, or even Keyshawn Johnson, whoever it may be. Go out there, be the leader, be on the floor every single night, be around the organization as much as you can, produce wins, produce successful basketball plays, be productive, be efficient in the basketball that you play when you're on the floor, and make sure you're on the court as much as you possibly can. So once again, this whole thing is going to come down to the fact of whether or not Jimmy Butler is on the floor for the majority, if not the entirety of this up-and-coming season. As we know, he's entering the year of the 2024-2025 season. He's going to be 35 when this season begins, and for this contract year, well, he'll make $48 million. And then next year will be considered his last year of his contract. But again, if you don't know how this works, it is a player option. As you see under the status column, you see player in that green highlighted bar for the age of 36. That would be the 2025-2026 NBA season, which would obviously be the following one after the one we're quickly approaching. If Butler opts into that contract, he would come back to this Miami Heat team without a new contract. This would finally be the final year of that contract, and he'd make $52 million in that final year alone. And again, that's a good goddamn payday in my opinion. But again, Jimmy Butler's not really worried about that lump total. He's worried about being really just able and just into this organization and taken care of until the age of 38. That is what he's looking for. That's always been really the motto. He's never, on that contract demand statement where he came out the day after the NBA season ended, he didn't say, I want $50 million for the next 3 years. He did throw out there, I would appreciate this much money if it was around this target area. But again, the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway, at least for my idea, was the fact that he wanted to go into that age of 38 season, or the age of 38, with this Miami Heat team on this Miami Heat roster, playing for this Miami Heat organization. So it's going to come down to this. This is going to be a massive contract year for Jimmy Butler in this Miami Heat squad, because if Jimmy Butler comes out there and he knows he's playing for something, he knows he's not only playing to come back next year and be successful with this Miami Heat team and not be traded for whatever value we could get back for him, as he's an aging good in some eyes, in some sense. Again, Pat Riley could see that he's going to be here. He's going to be healthy. He's going to give us what we expect from Jimmy Butler and even more at times. He's going to be our leader. He's going to be this guy that we can lean on and really, he can lead the way as that Udonis Haslem type of player. Hey, this is the Miami Heat. This is how we do it. We're down 5. We need to get a stop. If we get a stop here, let's just worry about the stop. We get to the ball on offense. We got sets we can go to and figure it out, because I'm Jimmy Butler, and if I have to and shit hits the fan, give me the ball, get out of the way. I can give us 2 to 3 points. I can get to the free throw line. I can do something productive on the offensive end, or even facilitate the basketball, as we know Jimmy Butler has been very good to do as of late. But again, that will be it for this episode of Heat Digest. Let me know down below, what are your expectations for Jimmy Butler and this Miami Heat squad going into the next season, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest.